I'm very pleased to say our guests this morning are the Athletics football correspondent David Ornstein and Sky Sports reporter Michael Bridge. Good to see you both. And we're going to get straight into Liverpool and that 2-0 win over Leicester at Anfield. So I guess the question is, David, we'll come to you first. Is the title race on?
Yeah, I think there's certainly life left in it, Joe. Jurgen Klopp seemed to suggest otherwise, but I think that was a bit of kidology. He said there's no chance, but we're going to try. And by the fact that they're going to try, that means there's a chance. If you see the points gap, you know it's coming down, or it's not getting bigger. Liverpool have a game in hand. They also play Manchester City in early-ish April. And there is life left in it. I think you've got to be quite realistic, though. Look at the fixtures, look at the form. Manchester City have been in sensational form results-wise. Liverpool too, but then when you look ahead, Manchester City's toughest remaining fixtures are at home, whereas Liverpool's are mainly away. And I think that will probably tip the balance in Manchester City's direction. They'll retain their league title, in my opinion. But of course, there's variables in this, injuries, Champions League, and various other factors. So I do think it will go on. I do think there's some drama left in it yet, but perhaps the key battles are more towards the top four finishing positions and also at the bottom of the Premier League.
Yeah, Michael, David makes some good points there, doesn't he? I mean, they do have to play each other. He's right, April the 9th at the Etihad. So for Liverpool to win that and their game in hand, all of a sudden, it's looking a bit more tight. But, I mean, what do you think? Any chance Liverpool catch City?
Yeah, I agree. It's certainly not over. You know, we love a title race. But they possibly have to go to the Etihad and win. But clearly, though, they'll need to win most of their matches to stand any chance, because this Manchester City side aren't going to drop many points, are they? What will be important is when the Champions League returns. This is huge for Pep Guardiola. Is there any question marks on Pep? If it's anything, it is winning the Champions League. We've still got the FA Cup too, so there's many twists and turns to come. And with Salah back already, he doesn't look like he needs a break, does he? I mean, you'd fancy Liverpool to close the gap at least, and Jurgen Klopp won't want the season to end soon because they looked fantastic last night. And the strength in depth, the bench as well, and the players he's brought in, pretty phenomenal stuff.
Well, let's talk about some of those players in more detail, because it's fair to say that Diogo Jota is making quite the impact. David, where do you think he goes down in terms of Liverpool's best signings? And I wonder, is there an argument that pound for pound, he's actually one of Liverpool's best signings?
Yeah, Joe, I don't think you can look far away from Alisson and Van Dijk, who came in, I think, consecutive transfer windows. But pound for pound, as you put it, you're probably not going to be finding too many better acquisitions at Liverpool. They've got a fantastic recruitment department that has time and time again shown their quality, their ingenuity, really, in finding gems, in pulling off signings that, frankly, Liverpool weren't making before this sort of more modern generation. There was talk that Liverpool couldn't attract players to Merseyside and couldn't pay the biggest salaries and were being beaten by their rivals. But now they seem to be so intelligent, and it's really paying off. It's not perfect. They didn't enjoy a good January last year in the market when they had those injuries to key central defenders. But pulling off the Jota deal for what, £41 million plus add-ons, 45 in total. He's got a phenomenal scoring record this season. I think he's already up to 17. Liverpool have an uncanny habit of producing goals from other positions when their key players are either out injured or on Africa Cup of Nations duty, and they're doing it again. In the past, you know, they've brought in Minamino, mixed results, but he's still weighed in where necessary. Now they're going to do the same with Luis Diaz by the looks of it, but Jota is phenomenal. I saw him up close at the Emirates in the League Cup and also at Anfield in the first leg of that semi-final, and the guy is more than capable of taking on the mantle that will inevitably be left by 1, 2 or 3 of Salah, Mane and Firmino in the next few years.
Indeed. You mentioned the other couple of players who they've got in options up top there, and Minamino and also Diaz, who made his debut last night. Michael, what did you make of Diaz? I'm looking at some of his stats here. They're 91% passing accuracy, 68 touches, 9 in the opposition box. I mean, speaking to a couple of Liverpool fans in the office this morning, Michael, they were all waxing lyrical about how good he was. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, look, Pete, you know, he looked like a player who was heading to North London and Tottenham Hotspur, then very early in the morning, I was on set reporting that he was going to go to Liverpool. I think this is a player who was probably going to go to Liverpool June or July time. I don't think the plan was for him to go to Liverpool now. So it's great news for Jurgen Klopp this season. What's scary is Luis Diaz looks completely settled already, starting on the left last night, drifting to the right, going central. That's exactly the kind of movement, exactly the kind of player that fits into this Liverpool side. So he's got real options, like I mentioned earlier, in terms of the title race. That's why I certainly wouldn't rule Liverpool out. And we say it every time, don't we, with successful clubs. It's recruitment, 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 where others have not done so well in terms of recruitment. Liverpool have got it right more times than they've got it wrong. Van Dijk, OK, 70-odd million, worth every penny. Sadio Mane, 38 million, worth every penny. Alisson, the replacement, well, I mean, looking back when Jurgen Klopp joined, they were very good going forward, but conceding goals was a real problem, wasn't it, having Karius in goal? And I think an unsung hero for Liverpool is Fabinho. When he doesn't play in that sort of defensive midfield, that number 6 role, they really do miss him as well. He was around £40 million. So they are getting it right. And because they're getting it right more often than not, it means that we are in for a really good second half of the season.
And David, Michael mentioned those options there. We've got to mention Mo Salah's return. Klopp said he wanted to start. He maybe even could have had a hat-trick last night. How key do you think Liverpool's strength in depth is to that exciting second half of the season?
Yeah, it's going to be massive, and these players tend to rise up in the biggest games as well. Of course, they've still got Mane to come back once he's got over the celebrations of Senegal's historic victory. But Salah looked in fine fettle, unsurprising. I mean, his physical, his technical attributes are second to none. Of course, we're going to see in the coming months whether he signs a new contract at Liverpool. And either way, I think he's going to be at the very top of his game, whether he's going to be staying or renewing or not. And they've got firepower, strength in depth. We don't even mention the likes of Origi in this conversation, who has come up trumps when he's been needed for Liverpool. Minamino, we touched upon just before. So we know the quality that they have. They've outscored Manchester City so far this season, although City have a more impressive defensive record so far, and that really could shine through. So, yeah, it bodes well for Liverpool. They could technically win the quadruple still, which will excite fans, and I fancy them to come out with at least one trophy from that possible options.